Now, ideas and courageous ideas, I think these are two not very different things, because all ideas are sort of courageous to some extent. But I think it's a good way to give your brain a break and do something else, and then it's gonna make, unexpected connections.
That's right, man. That means we're recording. That means this is happening.
This is it.
Even though people can't see you, because I wish they could. You do have Hollywood characteristics. I could see you being a character. Did you ever consider in front of the camera before all these years behind the camera?
Can't say that I haven't. I mean, not sure I had the opportunity, but I would, if should that opportunity come about, I'll be like, sure, why not? It's the bandana, isn't it?
Well, I'm like, first of all, I'm a bald guy looking at this like amazing head of hair, and the bandana doesn't suck either. So it's just like, you got a lot going for you, Mihnea. Now, I think
it's the bandana has been going on for like 15 years or so. It's kind of like if I don't wear the bandana and I just show up, people don't recognize me. They just go like, "Is there something wrong with you? Where's the bandana?"
The real question is, do you recognize you without the bandana?
I do. That's how I shower. I mean, I'm like, I sleep without the bandana. I'm kind of like, once I go out of the house, there's got to be a bandana. Otherwise, the local butcher won't recognize me, the baker and so on. I won't be, people don't recognize me in my hood anymore.
Well, speaking of hoods, the hood he's talking about is in Milan, and we are...
Right.
I am super pumped to have this Romanian Chief Creative Officer, Mihnea Gheorghiu. Did I crush it?
Yep. I mean, that was a pretty good pronunciation of a very complicated Romanian name, so congrats.
I'll take it. And Mihnea is like pretty much just back. This is like a super tell, by the way, because we record these, but we don't go live with them for a few weeks. So super tell, Mihnea is just back from Cannes, and like many other creatives, sometimes our moods are directly in lockstep with how we do at shows like Cannes. So let's ask the simple question, Mihnea. Are you in a good mood? Are you in a shitty mood? What type of mood are you in?
I think I'm in an okay mood. I mean, I'm very happy. Actually, it's been the Cannes week has been great. It's just that we were doing a huge global pitch at the same time, and then I had to just go back straight to like 48 hours of nonstop, closing the deck. Everybody got COVID. I somehow didn't. I don't know how. Like literally everybody in Cannes got COVID. Everybody in the agency got COVID. And then I don't know. I'm like the Romanian cockroach. And I survived. So yeah, and then we presented, and I don't know. Like the last 5 days, I was on a beach in a village in Liguria, and I'm fine. I'm fine. It's all good. Cannes has been amazing. Let me try and go back in time, like a week and a half ago. Our work got really well recognized. We're the third agency in the world, and we won a record of 20 Lions for Heineken.
Amazing.
Our main client. So it's been a very good year. Yeah, it's the first time Heineken has ever won this many Lions with these many projects. I don't know, 7 or 8 different projects, I think.
Well, that's got to make you feel good, and I hope the team feels good about that.
I think that's the most important. I think the team is very happy, and I think I hope they're still drunk somewhere. 'Cause that's what it's all about. Like you work very hard for a year, and it's nice to see the recognition coming. Like I think this week on the French Riviera is probably the most important moment in the advertising year, because it's important. Like your work gets recognized, and more than that, it gets recognized by your competitors. So that means it's good. So it's good. It gives you purpose, right? Like you're like, yeah, I'm doing the right thing. So as a creative, as a creative, you're kind of like all the time lost, I suppose, and struggling between, am I good enough for this? Do I suck? What do I want to do with my life? So when you get recognitions like this, I think you're kind of like patting yourself on the back, and you're like, okay, so I may not suck that bad at this. That's good.
So first of all, I won't ask you if the team was getting drunk on Heineken. I'm just going to assume they were, and we'll move on to the next.
Not only Heineken. We do work on Heineken, but we live in Italy, so we kind of have like special permission. If we lived in Germany or the Netherlands, then I could understand. But I guess even the client is like, okay, fine. You Italy people with your wines and stuff. Yeah.
So I appreciate you being like already out of the gate vulnerable. Like, am I good enough? Am I, it's a fragile space to be a creative in this subjective world where you're constantly in the arena and it's a gladiator, right? It's like thumb up, thumb down. We're not so sure yet. And just to kind of backtrack, Mihnea, you're a chief creative officer at Publicis. You're doing some amazing things. I would call you, I hope this doesn't offend you. And if I do, just hang up and this will be the end of the show and we'll never run it. But like, I kind of feel like you're kind of a gypsy. Like you're this nomad who has curiously bounced from country to country. And I think it was for all the right reasons, right? Like you're on this adventure. Can you kind of take us back to like little Mihnea, who was in Romania and had the insight to be like, well, how do I, maybe you didn't have the insight. Like, you're like, I want to be in this business. And how do I get from where you were to where you are now?
Okay. All right. So first of all, calling me a gypsy for me is kind of a compliment. So that's cool. I like that because I grew up with a lot of gypsies who were awesome. And second, I know I'm Romanian. I don't get offended that easily. I hardly ever get offended, so it's fine. I'm just gonna be very careful because I'm usually very blunt and non-diplomatic. So I'm very careful to not offend others in this world. And I don't want my ignorance to take the best of me. And as for my story. So I'm Romanian. I'm from a small city next to Bucharest called Pitești, which means in Romanian, it literally means you hide. I moved to Bucharest for university. I was in business school. I was supposed to go to Harvard, but I've always wanted to do advertising. I know, and I don't know why. I've always liked the idea of like making someone that I don't know and who doesn't know me feel something in the shortest time possible. And I think through advertising you can do that. Of course, you can make them feel like with a 1 hour and a half film and stuff like this. But if you can do it with a 30-second ad or just a print ad or a billboard, that's pretty cool for me. I joined Leo Burnett in Bucharest when I was 19. I think I was the youngest in Romanian advertising. And from there, I just gypsied my way around the world, the advertising world, like you said before. I was lucky enough to work with very good people, way smarter than I was. Had a lot of patience with me. I was an idiot. I mean, I still am, but it looks like I had a lot of I don't know, I was very determined to get better at it. So I eventually, like after, so I lived and worked in Hamburg, Paris, London, Madrid, Toronto, New York, Bucharest, Amsterdam, and now Milano. I kind of live in both Milan and Amsterdam at the same time. Sounds weird, but
he's a very wide person, one-legged.
yeah, I'm huge. And I have very, very long legs. So yeah, and I don't know. After 3 years and a half in New York, I decided to go back to Europe, and then I ended up in Romania. And after 4 years of Romania, I'm talking sort of like my advertising adulthood, like late teenage years, because everything that happened before New York was kind of like, the childhood years. And then in Romania, I started, kind of like working as a creative director. So things got a bit more serious. And after 4 years in there, I moved to Milan, to Italy, as a creative director. That was like 5 years and a half ago. And then I kind of like just climbed to global ECD and now to CCO/global CCO of Le Pub as well. So yeah, I mean, fancy titles, they don't really mean much. They're really cool on LinkedIn. We're all kind of like creatives at the end of the day. So that's what it is.
What do you think you sort of mentioned like the teenage years and the adulthood years. So what do you think old man version of you in advertising looks like? Like are you mentoring? Are you running an agency? Are you still working? What does it look like?
That's a very good question. I've been thinking more and more about it these past days. I really have no idea. And it's a big, I cannot think about me like in a professional way in the future. I just think about like what I would like to do, and I think I would open a bar on an island in the Caribbean. So I would probably be a bartender, because this is the job I've always wanted to do, and I didn't really have time for it because I just started working from like the first days of university, so right into advertising. So I've always wanted to work in a bar, not because I like to drink. I think I just like people who drink. And that's why we opened Le Pub, which is an agency inside a pub. Because I said, okay, if I cannot leave advertising to go to work in a bar, I'm just going to make a bar in here. So I don't know. Like if you had asked me like 5 years ago, like I'm going to be the CCO of the second and third agency in the world, I would be like, yeah, sure. But then it happens. So I don't know. I don't know if I will own an agency, or if I'm just going to climb on the corporate ladder until I'll be, I don't know, some chairman, global, blah, 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 and like 15 other words. Or I'll just, be freelancing, or just, have my own barn on an island and write children's books. I have no idea.
I'm grateful you didn't, as you're talking about the bar and you like interesting people and who drink. But like some of the best ideas are obviously happening over those elixirs. Thank you for not opening.
I don't think that's necessarily true. I don't think that's generally true. It doesn't work for me, right? Like if I drink, you're in California, right? Okay, right. Yes. So if I smoke or something, right? You might think you have amazing ideas, but then you wake up the next day and you're like, because you're just a bit easier on yourself. And I think for an idea to be great, of course you can have like nuggets of like divine inspiration in those moments, but that's just about it. I still, in my case, I kind of like full sobriety when I think of things. But I don't know. I think it works differently for everyone. I don't think there's, if some, creatives, they just want to go to a bar to get drunk to work on a brief. I really don't care. Like they can just go ahead, as long as we all have some deadlines and you need to present something on this date. I don't care how you get there.
Right. Yeah, I always felt like, and again, this is a show about courage, and so in this case, I would say it's a show about courageous ideas, and where do they come from? And I always found, for some reason, and you tell me if does this hold true for you, or does the muscle work differently? Like, I'm working on something, and I'm working and I'm working and I'm working and I'm chiseling away, and then I go away to somewhere else. Let's just say it's a bar in the Caribbean in my mind. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And then, and so for 1 minute, I'm not thinking about that thing. And then it's sort of, when I'm not thinking about it is the time that an insight bubbles to the surface. I'm like, oh my gosh, like let me write that down before I forget it. I'm going to email myself. So when I am clear, mm-hmm. I can really start to play around with that. And then I go back into work, wherever that is. So it's like this, in it, go away. And when you go away is usually when something happens and it puts you back in it. But you don't want to go back in it until it's time to go back in it. And then when you're in it, mm-hmm. there it is. Is that like crazy, or does that make sense to you?
No, it makes total sense. It's just that we don't normally disconnect that much because there's a lot to do. So it's very... I mean, I've heard of this method of like just disconnect, and the brain is gonna work there in the background. But I don't know if it's ever worked for me because I was never really disconnected, and also because I'm too connected, and I kind of like what I do. That even when I'm off, I just like look at things and I almost like think of ads or funny things that could become pieces of entertainment and stuff like this. I think that works. I'm not sure. I mean, that's definitely a way to get to ideas. Now, ideas and courageous ideas, I think these are two not very different things, because all ideas are sort of courageous to some extent. But I think it's a good way to give your brain a break and do something else, and then it's gonna make unexpected connections. Because you don't force it on that one street, and you just go have a beer or play ping pong. And just because you think about something completely different, you might go back to where you left off, and you might see a connection that you weren't able to see before. So yeah, I don't know. Again, it works differently for everyone. Some people like to disconnect, like they think for 20 minutes and then they go for 40 minutes and they, jump in a pool or draw or whatever. Others, they just cannot stand, from the table until they finish or they reach something they like.
Do you feel like, Mihnea, do you see yourself first as a artist, a creative, a business guy? Where do you land on that? Like, what do you see yourself as?
Oh, I mean, I don't really see myself as anything. Like, I'm nothing. I'm becoming. I think because of my job and because of what I've been doing, which was a copywriter, right, for the last 17 years, could be creative. Although I sort of prefer the term more like entertainer, doer of entertaining things. Just broadens it up a bit. For sure, I'm not an artist. Yeah, and I think the whole part of the businessman and everything, these are just nice little updates, but not the main thing, right? Which is, I really like to entertain people one way or another.
Or chief gypsy officer could be another possible
title. Chief gypsy officer, that would be amazing. That would be amazing.
I would change it on LinkedIn right away. That's the first thing I would do. So let's say I'm on your team. let's say I'm joining Mina's team
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a writer and I want to do magic. I want to make awesome stuff. And like, what do I need to know? What do I need to know about being on your team? What's the expectation of me?
Well, I think I really like people on my team to just be curious all the time and to to ask as many questions as they can, to get as much clarity as they can, and to never stop at the brief, to just like ask random questions, because I feel like that's where a lot of interesting things that nobody has ever thought about come into play. When we work here, it's all about asking the right questions. We work a lot of with data detectives and very smart people and business analysts and so on. But then again, if you look at the way they work, they also ask a lot of questions. They don't just come up with answers and statistics and interesting data points out of thin air, And I think the interesting thing that creatives do, they always go like, but, what happens if we do this? Like it's just random questions that nobody really knows the answer to in the room. And I think that's when it starts being interesting. Otherwise, you kind of like your brain sort of automatically copies things you've seen last. You start going into recipes, you start going, because briefs are more or less the same. Clients are more or less, they have the same needs. And, you're asked to do like a campaign for a beer, a sponsorship, whatever. You're going to automatically start from the last thing you've seen. Your brain automatically goes like, okay, what makes the most sense? So I think the whole art of it is to know how to break from that, typicality that your brain sort of forces you into. And I think you can do that by asking really, really stupid questions. So I don't know, like we were working at some point on a pitch for an airline, and someone asked, like, wait, so if I'm on a flight back, right? So I'm in no man's land. I'm at 10,000 feet in the air, and the airline tried to sell me tickets for my next flight while I'm on the flight. Do I need to pay the tax? Because wouldn't the tickets be like cheaper? We're like, I don't know. Let's investigate, So it's like, it's already like an interesting entry point, and like doing nice e-commerce or like a nice touch point for promos and so on. And I don't know, it's all kind of weird. Quite like somebody was watching a commercial for WhatsApp, right? That they always go like, messages are encrypted and privacy. And someone was like, but wait a minute, so if they're encrypted, does this mean that they can, they're considered private? Can someone use a screenshot of a WhatsApp conversation with you against you in court? Wouldn't that be like they entered your house and stole evidence? So it's like a lot of, and then from there you go like, like you could start like a little film, you could start like a little story from here. It's already more interesting than just, hey, you can, talk about birth control or whatever, and nobody's gonna, so it's, I think it's all about these, stupid questions. I mean, not random stupid questions. That's why briefs are important. So you kind of know the size of your yard where you can play. But there's always, I think that's where the creative genius comes in. The person who has the most stupid question, not the most stupid idea.
I love that.
That's the start of something.
Well, also, like, as your role also is there enough space to create from stupid questions. Like, do you feel like you're constantly fighting for more time or enough time, or have you seen in your career, has that stayed constant? Like, do clients still value, let them go away and do their process, and in your process you're creating one's actual time and space to think, but two, a safe enough arena to ask, like you said, what are our, you're quoting, the stupid question is anything but stupid.
So wait, what's the question? Is like, is the client, like, does the client know about this, encourage this, or do they participate?
Well, I wonder if you still, like, how much are you negotiating with clients for time so people can think?
Sometimes I am. I mean, it's a very, like, this whole notion of creative management. I think this is a very, everybody kind of like does it differently and understands something different out of it, because there's a lot of my colleagues who are kind of more client facing than I am, and like more, not more client facing, but more in contact with the client than I am. So, it's all the client service colleagues who are like in constant contact, and they're like, we need another day, we need 2 more days, we're ready earlier, where we won't be ready, manage expectations and so on, based on the pulse. They take the pulse of the presentation. If it's a disaster, we have the last internal review and everything is just, nothing makes sense. That's when they go, okay, so I'm just going to push the presentation. So I think they're the negotiators. I do talk to clients a lot, but I think it's more of I just need to, and I think this is part of the job of the chief, blah, 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 is like to try and bridge these 2 worlds, with the right language. Because if you go to a client and you go like, listen, but this is cool, because I say so, this is cool, this is going to win a lion. I mean, as much as clients love winning and being on stage and being promoted and so on, like, they don't really give a shit about arguments like this. So as a creative, you need to sort of find this common language and to understand why this idea that has never been done before, that, many people in the room are kind of afraid of, why is this good? Why not go for something that's, proven to work and everybody can like literally see the results right then and there, everybody goes home at 6, everybody has a sound sleep at night and so on. So I think that's the hard part when you're a creative manager. You got to make sure, creative ideas and things that have never been done before are translated into let's call it a more rational language, without making those ideas, lose their magic. Right? There's always a bit of risk in everything, no matter, like, you can never guarantee that something is amazing and it's always going to work. Because otherwise, then everybody would do it, right? It would be like a cookbook of awesomeness. And yeah, I think this is some of the hardest things in advertising, selling creative work, not just coming up with it.
How do you know when you have something? Like, is there always a moment where you're like, okay, like, we haven't got the case cracked. It's not cracked, but there's an opening. Is it that curiosity? Is it that clarity on an insight? Is it like, oh, is it knowing when you find, like, I always felt like when you had something, you knew it because it was unique enough, but then you could do a lot with it. It wasn't just like one thing. There were waves of ideas that came off the idea. And I remember us getting so much energy from that. Like, when you're in it and you're hearing someone, this is probably after the silly question part, and they're like, okay, yeah, that's it. Go follow that thread. Like, what made you say something like that? When did you know?
I think it's intuition will always be there, a lot intuition, and very important experience. When I was younger, I always thought, like, I just had the intuition because I didn't know it's a bad expression, so you can beat me. Like I didn't know shit about fuck. So it was all like intuition, right? But then I realized that experience is very important in understanding what has better chances of being great than something else. And this is based on the things you've seen, the things you've done, the way things you thought were great reacted, how the world reacted to them in the past. So I don't know, right now, there's ideas that can be like, even a bot could say, yeah, this is great. It's just like usually those are the 0.0001% of the ideas, and those like happen maybe once a year or once every few years. And when that's it, that's it, right? Like I think we're all working towards that goal. We all hope to have more of those moments. Unfortunately, they cannot always happen. And the rest is about knowing if something is like, and if we're talking about courageous ideas, I think is having the right mix of experience and intuition to tell a brave idea from an extremely stupid and self-damaging idea. Because sometimes, like a brave idea can sound just as crazy as a very bad idea. Experience is what comes in, and intuition can not always tell the difference. So that's where experience comes in. You can tell like, no, maybe doing this will be completely suicidal, or no, this could be actually great because of this and this and this. Let me give you an example. Diesel. We've done this campaign for Diesel back in 2019, which was called, to launch the spring, the fall winter collection, which was called Enjoy Before Returning. And it was all picking on, especially Gen Z. It was picking on this trend called wardrobing, meaning a lot of people, especially with more expensive brands, they get the clothes, they wear them for an occasion or two, and then they return them. So they kind of like hide the labels and so on. And a lot of people do that. So because it's legal, right? Like you can always return what you bought. And if you're careful, nobody's going to know that you've worn it to a party and you got drunk. So we said, okay, is this crazy brilliant or crazy stupid? If we're going to come and say, enjoy before returning, is this going to, get Diesel go bankrupt? Or is this going to get us actually, all those people who never thought of buying in Diesel, just because, when Diesel comes and embraces this, they go like, oh, nice, they're speaking my language. So we actually went for data. And that's kind of what helped us, sell this in, because the client was like, are you fucking mad? We're like, yeah, but wait, there's a lot of companies that blacklist customers who return. Now, customers expect free returns and expect like a very hassle-free process of returning. And the data said 98% said that if they're going to get a smooth return process, they will come back and buy from the same place. Whereas if you blacklist them, or you make it very hard for them to return what they bought, they will never buy from you again. So we're like, okay, we're very lucky because the Diesel founder is an extremely cerebral and brave person, Renzo Rosso. And he was like, I love it, let's fucking do it. And we did it globally. What do you think happened? Like all the comments on YouTube, great, you're going to go bankrupt. Everybody from Diesel's marketing is going to be fired. Actually, no, sales grew and returns went down on both online and in store. And sales grew from the people who had never bought from Diesel. Because people who are already buying from Diesel, those guys are like fans of the brand. So they're like, you can do whatever you want. They will always buy from Diesel. The problem was that these people are only getting older. So, to talk into 20-year-olds and so on and try and attract those people in. This worked. It was like an example of Freakonomics. You say the opposite and then, you say something and then the opposite happens. So that actually worked really well. But again, you see, if we didn't have the data, if we didn't have I don't know if we would have gone with it, because it's not enough to just act suicidal, because in 99% of the cases, it might actually go really wrong. It depends a lot on the execution, on the tone of voice, on the data, like implementation and everything, and knowing how everything is going to come together. And this comes from experience, having the right people to believe in the same idea and to speak in the same language. And then it works.
That first wave, like, you kind of need the data for the first wave of comments that come back. To me, that's where the bravery, there's layers of bravery, right? The idea is one, but when you put it out into the world, knowing that the loudest haters will be first in line to tell you on YouTube, or like, dumb, you're going to go out of business. I do give tons of props to you and the team.
No, but really, so what we did, the execution was extremely simple. We literally took the return policy and made it the global campaign. We made a video where the voice was reading the return policy. With all the print ads had the return, how to return, and the website, everything, right? So it was a very simple idea, very intuitive. Everybody could understand it. It's just the courage from that brand, the bravery of Diesel coming and saying that, where, mind you, every single brand, every single retailer has the return policy somewhere on their website. It's just that it's very hidden. Nobody likes to speak about it. If they could, can we lower the, can we blacklist people who do this? This is bad for business. Or maybe it's not. And it worked.
The amount of confidence, though, the brand has for putting that front and center also. And again, I'm sure people see themselves when they wear Diesel, especially someone who has long legs like you, who's in 2 different countries. Unbelievable. All right. So here's what I've taken away so far from our conversation. And I'd love for you to, as we kind of wrap up today, what am I missing?
Oh, are we already?
Oh, I know, man.
Shit.
I know, man. Oh. We could go for a long time. Well, we'll run it back.
We started a bit later, so sorry about that.
No, all good. All right, so here's what I took away. One, the biggest one for me was stay curious, right? Like, curiosity is not, it doesn't get an hour off. It's everyone's always on curious standard time, right? CST.
Yep.
2, never stop at the brief. The brief is good as guardrails, but keep rolling. 3, look for the short circuit, right? How do you short circuit people that are, when they're not in this business? We get robotic sometimes. It happens. That's life. 4, ask the right questions, and sometimes the right question is the stupid question, right?
Yeah.
And then that brings us to more stupidity, right? Is this crazy brilliant or crazy stupid, right? And that's where maybe data, that's where data can really help you get clear on what's the story we really want to tell. And then have the courage to weather the storm. If the data is the data, hold firm. And the next thing you know, you have a chance to be working for you in Milan at the bar. And then the goal obviously is to get invited to the main bar in the Caribbean when you open it. Is that what I'm looking for here?
Yeah, that's gonna happen. Don't worry. It's gonna become like a worldwide hit. It's gonna be the Studio 54 of the tropical island bars.
That's a pretty good brief.
Yeah, everybody's gonna wear bandanas.
So Mina, what did I miss though? What else would you add if there was something I missed that you would add in there? Right? Yeah, stay curious. Don't stop at the brief. Ask stupid questions. Audit, is it a brilliant idea or crazy stupid idea? What else would you add there?
I mean, I don't know. When we talk about bravery, it's like you got to go all the way or don't go at all. You cannot be half brave. And I think if you, because when a client or anybody says no to an idea that you really believe in, we all ask ourselves like, why, right? Because everybody's sort of afraid, and it's fine to be afraid. Everybody's afraid. Because what was that like? Bravery is not the absence of fear, is being afraid and doing it anyway, right? So I think is trying to reframe the way we look at fear in 2022, and fear of like doing something and putting something out there. Because once it's online, it's not yours anymore. It belongs to the internet. So, you can get really slammed for it, or you can get like extremely applauded for it. And, you can change the world of communication or entertainment and so on, or craft and so on. I think it's important for people who are like, yeah, maybe not today. I'm going to be brave tomorrow. So always look at, and trying to reframe fear. Like, what's the worst that can happen on the internet in 2022? Sure, so you're going to piss off some people. You're going to get really angry. You're going to get like some hashtag boycott, insert brand name here. Some people say they will never buy it and they're going to tell their relatives. But then how long is this going to last? What, 2 days? Until something more annoying or more extraordinary comes along, and all the attention is going to go there. And in a week, it will be like it never happened. So that's the worst that can happen. And then you got to put it, in balance with what's the best that can happen, which is, infinitely better than the worst. And I think this is a very, it's an interesting exercise. It's hard to do it. It's very easy to say it, especially if it's your responsibility. And I know you have a mortgage and you don't want to be fired, if it's like your decision. But, trying to put things in this perspective might like help more people like make braver decisions. And, it's like the worst that can happen is actually not that bad. And sooner or later, people are going to forget about it. Because in the end, it's just communication. It's just advertising. It's just entertainment. People will love it to bits for a little while, and they will hate it to bits for even less.
What I like about the framework, though, what's the worst that could happen, what's the best that could happen, is the multiplier on the what's the best that could happen is so far greater. Even though it doesn't feel like it, it's like you have this wall in front of you that forces you to only think about the worst that could happen, not the best that could happen. And the best that could happen is like 8x. It's not equal.
Yeah, there's this beautiful quote from Fernando Machado, who's currently the CMO of Activision Blizzard. He used to be the CMO of Burger King. And he's one of the bravest and most awarded CMOs in history, if not the bravest and most awarded. And he said, the biggest risk is to not risk at all. I think nowadays, when everybody's kind of like fighting for attention, the biggest risk you can ever take is to do something bland that nobody gives a shit about. Like, they don't feel anything. You're just going to get lost into an ocean of indifference. And I think that's a bigger failure than having some people, really angry in some comments, And like, this really puts things in perspective, because that's why we do things. At the end of the day, all we do in cinema, in entertainment, advertising, whatever, is we're fighting for people's attention. Because once we got their attention, we can like sneak in that, emotion, that message. So the worst thing is to not get any of that attention. And that's, for me, it's like the biggest risk, to not risk at all and to just come up with like something bland and
Thanks.
Nobody really cares about.
Thanks for playing, but you never really played.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's strip away. I know it's hard to do, but the fight for attention, Mihnea, and just it's time to talk about Gypsy Mihnea. So for you, what are you afraid of? Not with work, just in life. Like what's like, oh shit, I'm blah blah blah, and therefore I'm blah blah blah. Like where are you afraid, or what scares the hell out of you?
Getting bored and while being comfortable. You know, I always think that, you know, comfort is the enemy of creativity. You know, like creativity hates comfort. But comfort is good, right? Like we all want to be comfortable. We all, you know, and it can sort of like steal you and you know, kidnap you for a few years, and you just become complacent and you just go like, yeah, I mean, this is kind of good. I'm happy, right? And then, you know, years pass and you realize you're not happy at all, because eventually, I don't know, like comfort becomes very uncomfortable after you realize that you haven't really done anything that feeds your, I don't know, your soul. So I would say this is it, like to just be comfortable and just get bored and like to not know how to escape in this. Yeah, I guess it's that.
I mean, look, you're as a gypsy, I don't think that's when does the gypsy move on to the next thing, and when does he, you know, do you?
Yeah, I mean, I was not born a gypsy, I became one. So I guess I kind of like forced this this, you know, like run away from boredom sort of onto myself. So.
And did that start in Romania? Like too small for you, or what?
No. I think Romania can be an amazing place for creativity, and there's a lot of people doing an amazing job in there. Not only in advertising, artists, painters, you know, NFT creators, and so on, like startups. It's just for me, and I like I will always be Romanian no matter what. I think I was very curious to see what it's like somewhere else. And in terms like professionally speaking, I've always chased craft, because I feel like this is, if there's one thing that Romania is lacking, that's craft. Because, you know, budgets are not very big. Things work. So it's like, if it works like this, why try harder? So I was always like constantly being bombarded by things that I wish I had done from the outside. And I'm like, wait a minute, I can go and check that out. I can see what's up. Like, what are they doing? You know, why can they do great things and or great looking things and we can't? So I guess this is the reason why I left the second time, when I was, by the way, extremely comfortable and happy. And yeah. And I'm very happy with what I found.
You're liberated. Are you liberated?
I am, but of course, I'm never fully satisfied, actually. I kind of came to terms with that, you know, like you can never be just like, I mean, I'm happy for very short amounts of time every once in a while, like fully like, and it's really worth it. And I realized like, I don't think you can be fully happy and satisfied with what you're doing all the time. I don't think that's humanly possible. I don't think that's achievable. And if you do that, you're probably going to get used to it. You know, it's just like chewing a gum, right? It's crazy because it doesn't lose its flavor. You just get used to it. If you take the gum out of your mouth and you eat like a piece of chocolate and then you put the gum back, surprise, it's still minty. You know? So
I'm chewing the wrong gum. I am clearly chewing everlasting mint gum. Tell me where to find that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just like taking a break from it every once in a while, or like trying a strawberry gum and then I don't know, pina colada gum, and then trying the minty gum again, and then it's gonna. If you really like, if the mint gum is what you're really into, so I don't know. On the way, you might discover that pina colada gum might actually be better, might be your thing, and then until you get tired of that, and then you discover another one and another one and another one. You know?
The joys of discovery.
Exactly.
Well, Mihnea, I appreciate you coming on, man. I love that you could be halfway around the world and we could just have a conversation and keep it real with each other. And I hope it's not the last. And for real, like I will find a way to get over to see you, and we can.
I'd love to. That.
Find a bar in Milan, and
or I'll come to San Diego.
Come on over, man. We could debate if if good ideas happened over alcohol or shitty ideas. We'll take it from there. Right,
I mean, we can totally trial and error, right? Like we're gonna do some R&D on that one.
All right, man. Be good. Take care.
All right, man. Thanks a lot for this. Have a good one.